Okay. Looks like this thing's on. Looks like I fixed the issue. Turns out I didn't have a microphone hooked up to this thing. Don't know why. Said default. Not sure what that means. Yeah, so my Gallant video didn't even record. I'm going to lower that a little because it seems like it might be a little bit loud. Yeah, I got to remake that Gallant video, but we're not doing Gallant today. I don't feel like going over all that again. We're actually going to go over Jack Eichel trade destinations, what makes sense and what doesn't, at least in my humble opinion. I don't know. My computer, does anyone else have this computer battery issue? Where my thing was sitting at like 3 or 4% for the past 2 years. And then I got on my computer like yesterday and it was at 97. And now it's back down to 90. The reason it's down to 90 is because we had the power went out for a few hours today, so it was unplugged, but it was draining battery when I wasn't using it. Listen, I don't know, but does anyone else have that issue where I had it plugged in for years, it never charged. I've done everything I can to fix the damn thing except take it into Best Buy. It was stuck at like 3, 4, 5%. Go back and watch all my videos that I record on this laptop. You'll see it. It's always that low. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go down. It plateaued there. But suddenly I just came on the other day and it was up to 98%. Almost the government heard me talking about it and was like, you know what? Yeah, let's help this kid out. So, you know what? What are we doing? We're talking hockey, all right? So we're going to talk about Jack Eichel and all potential trade destinations I have seen, or teams that we're interested in calling. I might have left out a couple, but actually, yeah, I left out the Minnesota Wild. Poop. So I should do that really quickly. Not that I even want to include the Wild in here because I don't think the Wild make any damn sense, but here we are. HockeyDB.com. Marian Gaborik. Totally forgot about the Minnesota Wild. 42-goal season. Keep the change. Love Gabby. Okay. Let's do the Minnesota Wild first. So I'm just going to go over what I think makes sense, what teams I think make sense, and what teams I don't think make any damn sense at all. Because there's a lot of teams that are interested in Eichel that I'm like, what? It just doesn't make sense. So there's a bunch of them I think very much so make sense. And there's some teams I'm a little meh about. So the first team we're going to go over is the Minnesota Wild. If Kirill Kaprizov was going to be here next season, yeah, I guess it makes sense. But in the same breath, Minnesota's not really getting younger per se. I mean, their core, well, that's a lie. Their core's in their mid-20s, but you got to account for the fact that they're going to lose a defenseman, a pretty good defenseman in this draft. Whether it's Brodin or Dumba or Spurgeon, they're going to lose a pretty good defenseman. And after that, your youngest defenseman was either going to be 26 or 27, at least regular, top 4 defenseman. Suter's going to be 37. He's their best defenseman. Spurs is close. At least in my opinion, Minnesota Wild fans will disagree with me probably and end up being right, and I'm wrong. But still, that's just my opinion. They don't really have a starter in net. I mean, Talbot's good, but like, what's the future in net for? What's the future in net? Who is it? Is it Alexander Kovanov? Because that's a forward. Never mind. Hunter Jones. I don't know their goalie prospects, but like, how do we know that they're going to be all right in net next year? And then I see, they might include Marco Rossi in the Jack Eichel deal. So, okay. So that year that the Wild had, that was a rebuilding year. The prospect they got out of that kind of got lucky with that pick because no one really anticipated Rossi dropping that low. They're just going to go ahead and flip him just right away and kind of mess up the whole idea of a quote-unquote rebuild. It's a little odd. Minnesota's one of those teams where I'm like in the middle with. Kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't. The reason it makes sense, they don't have a number one center on this team right now. They don't. They have a bunch of centers, but who's their number one center? Who's the number one center in Minnesota? Because I don't see him. I just don't. So from a perspective of needing, yeah, they could use him, and it certainly makes sense to make a move on him. However, does Minnesota want to sell house, give up potentially 2 first-round picks and Marco Rossi, because I'm not sure what else Buffalo will be interested in. You could send them Matt Dumba, but do they really want Matt Dumba? Matt Dumba makes $6 million a year. He got 2 years left, and he's UFA. Is what Buffalo want? Does Buffalo want their showing for Jack Eichel to be, well, we got a first-round pick, Marco Rossi, and a defenseman for 2 years, and then he walked for nothing? Or do they want to get as many young assets as humanly possible? Because aside from Marco Rossi, do they? First of all, do they even want to trade Marco Rossi? Number one. Number two, do they want to trade Matt Boldy? They want to throw Boldy in there. I thought Boldy's been progressing pretty darn well. I actually enjoyed watching Boldy at U20 last year. Did he play this year? Maybe it was this year. I'm getting old. I forgot. Yeah, it was this year. I thought he played pretty damn good. And he played at BC. So, like, is this a player they want to move? 18 games and 18 points in 14 games in the AHL. It's a pretty good showing. Does Minnesota want to give up all their young assets for Eichel for a couple of years where they might be competitive? Like, and when I say might be, like, sneaking into playoffs at the four spot or the 3 spot. I don't know if that's a good idea for Minnesota, and this is why I lean more against the idea of Minnesota going for Jack Eichel, because it doesn't really make sense. You give up all these assets for a guy, a 24-year-old center, for like 2, maybe 3 years of competitive hockey till you kind of fall off a bit. Because you're not going to have Rossi there. You're not going to have whoever your first-round pick is this year, and probably you're not going to have your first-round pick from last year, because you're going to end up needing to trade them for Eichel, because there's not really anybody on this roster I think Buffalo goes for. Maybe Kevin Fiala? Actually, let's just pretend this, right? Here's the Minnesota Wild trade offer that goes through. And this is probably an undersell. Fiala, Rossi, first-round pick. Let's say for some reason that's all that's in the trade, which is unlikely, but let's just say that's what it is, and Buffalo accepts. Okay, so you have your number 1 center of the future, you traded away, gone. Okay? And then you traded away Kevin Fiala, the best winger on your team aside from Kaprizov. He's the number 2 winger on this team behind Kaprizov. Okay, Kaprizov's probably going back to the KHL. So now your 2 best wingers are gone. Your top center prospect is gone. And you don't have a first-round pick this year for a 24-year-old center that's injured. And may sneak you into the playoffs? Like, may? I don't know. For me, it doesn't really make very much sense for Minnesota to make a move for Jack Eichel. For me, if I'm looking at Minnesota from an outside perspective, especially if Kaprizov's walking, I think it's kind of time Minnesota maybe takes a step back and decides, you know what, let's gather some draft picks here and reset. Because looking at it like this, they made the playoffs, God bless them. They made the playoffs last year, got bounced in the first round. They got bounced in the first round this year. Missed the playoffs. So, like, let's go. First round exit. Misses the playoffs. First round exit. And then you're talking about their best player that got them into the playoffs this year. Kaprizov's not going to be here. Parise is a year older. Suter's a year older. They're losing one of their best. They're either losing Brodin, Spurgeon, or Dumba in the draft. So one of their better defensemen, arguably top defenders in the league, because, Minnesota's top 4 is utterly ridiculous. How they accrue those assets is beyond me. Kudos to their GM. It's unbelievable asset protection. It's like you're taking all these steps back, and bringing in Jack Eichel might not even be the solution. Like, on an aging team where it might be best to Minnesota's like identity. If Kaprizov stays, Kaprizov should be your identity, and you build around him. Eichel will be an awesome asset, but if you're bringing in Jack Eichel is going to elevate the team to a level where they're not going to be getting very high draft picks, so who are they going to really put around them? And they're going to be in that kind of purgatory that a lot of teams find themselves in, where they're making the playoffs. They need more assets to take the next step, so they trade away mid-first round pick assets that aren't getting them the greatest of great players, and those great players that they acquire for those picks are walking next year anyway. It's that purgatory where it's like, you didn't start from the bottom up. You kind of had some players come from the bottom that met other players in the middle and other players on the way out, and you're kind of just... It's like you only have 10 fingers. How many holes on this ship can you plug until the flooding just fucking drowns the ship? At some point, it's just like you got to just say, hey, this is it. We need to rebuild. And personally, that's where I think Minnesota should be going. That's just my opinion. So moving on from the Minnesota Wild. Again, this is my opinion. You have every and any right to disagree or agree with me. If you disagree with me, comment down below and let's talk about it. I offered my opinion. This is how a conversation happens. The Chicago Blackhawks. When I saw the Chicago Blackhawks were interested in Jack Eichel, to me it made almost zero sense. And it kind of still doesn't make any sense. The only way it makes sense is if Jonathan Toews' career is over and they're just going to have $10.5 million laying around. But if that is the case, aside from Patrick Kane, why are we still full sending this? Duncan Keith's 37. Seabrook's retired. What are we doing? What are we doing? DeHaan and Murphy are gone after next year. Keith might retire the year after next. He got hurt this year. Toews is probably gone. Nylander's a bust. Strom's your second line center. Is he going to be your first line center in Toews' absence? You don't get Jack Eichel without giving up Kirby Dach. So there's your number one center of the future just gone. Not only are you elongating a purgatory of it's time to rebuild and recoup assets, but you're giving up the asset. Like it's the same thing as Minnesota's. Like why for Patrick Kane? So you're gonna sink the rest of Patrick Kane's career and the prime of Eichel's career. For me, that doesn't make sense. If I'm the Chicago Blackhawks, who finished with 55 points in 56 games this year, a .491 point percentage. Where did they finish in the standings? That would be a good way to gauge this. So they were in their division. They missed the playoffs by 2 spots and 9 points. And in the entire league, where did they finish? What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minus 30. Finished 20th in the league. I don't know. It just does it make sense? Would they be better next year with Jack Eichel? Absolutely, they would. But would they even make the playoffs? They missed by 9 points. If they do make the playoffs, do they get past the first round with Kevin Lanigan and Malcolm Subban as their goalies? With a 38-year-old Duncan Keith? Like Dahan and Murphy are your like Zadorov. I feel like the Blackhawks, if they were going to make the playoffs, it would take a lot more depth than just Jack Eichel. And Eichel wouldn't be depth; he'd be like the guy. Him and Kaner. And then after that, I mean, you have DeBrincat, who had a pretty good year this year. He's only 23 years old, a puppy still. But had a really good year this year. So you have DeBrincat, Eichel, and Kane. Suter had a decent year. Strome had a good year. Their forward core might be pretty decent. What about that third and fourth line? Doc ain't going to be there. You're going to have Eichel and Dylan Strome as your 1-2. Who's your third line center? Suter? Okay. Not bad. What's your fourth line looking like? Okay, just a bunch of random guys. What's your defense look like? Oh, we didn't change the defense. Okay. So, what's going on there? I don't know. To me, the Blackhawks don't make very much sense. In my opinion, it doesn't make very much sense for the Blackhawks to be giving up assets they barely have to get another guy where it's just kind of elongating their purgatory. I think the Blackhawks kind of should be in this place right now where it's like, maybe we're ready to settle down, move on, and maybe kick off the rebuild. Like, that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. I mean, you build around guys like Kirby Dach. You don't trade them. That's just my opinion. Now, granted, Jack Eichel's young. He's going to be 25 years old next year. We don't even know if he's hit his peak yet. So he could very well be good. But, I mean, do you want to bank your entire future on that he might get healthy again? And this is a trade that a team that has a ton of assets and is on the up and up, not on the plateau, And I just don't think the Blackhawks fit that bill. And also, I don't know, what is the ask from Buffalo? Hey, we want Doc, Strome, and a first-round pick. Is that enough? Doc's pretty damn good. But is that enough for Buffalo? Is that what Buffalo wants? They definitely want a center in this deal, you would think, or a top center, a top forward in general, but is that enough? Are they going to ask for Bockvitz too? And if they ask for Bockvitz, if you're the Blackhawks, you hang up the damn phone. So I don't know. To me, the Blackhawks make no sense. Like no sense whatsoever. Take a look at the Blackhawks last 5 years. Bounced in round one after winning the Cup. Lose again. Look at their point percentage plummeting. Miss the playoffs. Get past the Oilers in the qualifier round. And then lose in the second round. So basically the real first round. And then they miss the playoffs. So it's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like the Blackhawks are in purgatory right here. And if they get a guy like Eichel, they're kind of elongating it. Would it be exciting to see Jack Eichel and Patrick Kane play together? Fuck yeah! Are you kidding me? If the Blackhawks got Jack Eichel, Kane and Eichel on a line together would be some of the most exciting hockey that you would ever see. But is that exciting hockey worth ruining a potential rebuild and a future franchise? A future dynasty? I don't think so. I think the smart move is to not. But I don't know. Owners probably think differently. Owners only see things in one sphere. Money, 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 not what's realistic. That's my opinion on the Blackhawks. Moving on for the Blackhawks. God, how long have I been going? 20 minutes already? 50 minutes. Let's move a little bit quicker here. The Toronto Maple Leafs. So the Maple Leafs is an interesting one. If the Maple Leafs and the Sabres are making this deal, it's definitely a lateral move, but how lateral does it get? I think the start is Mitch Marner. And how much value does Mitch Marner have right now? He's a UFA in 4 years, making more money than Jack Eichel, almost $1 million more than Jack Eichel. And then after you trade Marner, which frees up the cap space for the Maple Leafs, what comes next? What else does Buffalo want? Probably Rasmus Sandin. Or if not Sandin, who's the other kid? Liljegren? Okay. So one of my top forwards and my top defensive prospect for Eichel. Okay. And then you get into the realm of, well, Toronto already has 2 top centers in Tavares and Matthews. This doesn't really make very much sense. Why would you want Eichel, Tavares, or Matthews as your third-line center? It doesn't make any sense. That's just what I'm going to say. And I think this is all kind of hearsay and Maple Leafs fans spewing stuff. Would it be cool and exciting and fun? Yeah. I mean, having Eichel, Matthews, and John Tavares as a 1-2-3 punch on the middle would be pretty fucking fun to watch. It would be some pretty good hockey. But I don't think it's what the Maple Leafs need right now. I think the last thing the Maple Leafs need right now is another top center. If you want my opinion what the Toronto Maple Leafs need, wingers and defense. Because Morgan Rielly and TJ Brodie were not it this year. I like TJ Brodie, but I don't really think he played that well. And it showed. Especially in the playoffs. Getting bounced in the first round. Foligno, man, if Foligno could stick around Toronto, that would be a hell of a move. I don't think Toronto could use puck-possessing, puck battle-winning, puck possession players that can play down low and help get guys like Nylander, Matthews, Marner, and Tavares the puck. And that's why it would be really unfortunate if they lose, what's his name this year, Zach Hyman. I don't know. I don't think the Leafs are in purgatory. I just think they're snake-bitten. Jack Campbell had a great year. He was fun to watch. But I just don't think it makes sense for Toronto. Lost in the first round 4 years in a row. So I definitely think a change should be made. But is getting another center the solution? Or maybe we look at that defense or maybe guaranteeing yourself that, hey, this is our goaltender. Let's ride him. That's just my opinion. Okay, Philadelphia Flyers. I think this one pop up a few times. I don't know how much sense the Philadelphia Flyers make either. How many more centers do the Flyers need? They got Morgan Frost, they got Lawton, they got Hayes, they got Giroux, who's a part-time center, and Sean Couturier. If they trade for Jack Eichel, that means Couturier or Hayes is your third-line center. So you're either going to have Couturier, a Selke candidate, or Hayes, an over $7 million manager third-line center. Interesting. What do the Flyers give up? Well, what do you think Buffalo wants from them? Nolan Patrick has no trade value. Maybe Nolan Patrick on the open market gets you maybe a third or fourth round pick, right? That's fair. What are you trading? Because I don't think offense is the Flyers' shortcoming. They got a pretty damn good offense. I assume it starts with Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost. After that, do they ask for Ivan Provorov? Do they ask for Travis Sanheim? Probably 2 players the Flyers don't really want to give up. Do they ask for Carter Hart? Then you're getting into the realm of, okay, this is getting ridiculous now. This is a future MVP goaltender. So, for me, I don't know how much sense the Flyers make at all because I feel like they don't have enough young assets to replace the assets they'd be moving to get Jack Eichel for the future because the Philadelphia Flyers are not in purgatory. They're not in that middle ground yet, but their core is getting older. Van Riemsdyk's going to be 33. He's going to be Voracek's going to be 32. Hayes going to be 30. That's prime. And Giroux, their captain's going to be 34. Their defense young and good. They got to find a way to get rid of Gostisbehere. Cam York's a good up and coming young D-man. I don't know. I don't know what happens with the Philadelphia Flyers. I think Eichel would be an interesting move. Yeah, well, I don't know. And you know what? Maybe Eichel could be a fit in a place like Philadelphia. The question really is, what does Philadelphia feel comfortable giving up? Because I thought Joel Farabee was one of their best players this year. I don't see them wanting to get rid of a 22-year-old kid that just kind of broke out, you know? I don't know. I feel like if they had more young assets that they could move, it would make sense. I definitely think it would probably be like Cam York, Frost, a first, and probably another roster player. I don't know. Maybe like a Sanheim. I don't know. Because I don't know what Buffalo's asking for. And I don't think anybody knows what the hell Buffalo wants. I don't think Buffalo knows what Buffalo wants. So I don't know. You know what? I take it back. Philadelphia is the first team I'm going to say makes more sense than doesn't if it's a move they're going to pursue However, it depends on the price because they don't want to bottom themselves out. And what are they looking at money-wise? Okay, so they got $13 million in cap space going this offseason. I'm not worried about them re-signing him. So they got to re-sign Travis Sanheim. And they got to re-sign Carter Hart. Yikes. Okay, so maybe it doesn't make as much sense as I thought. They'd have to give up a contract. They'd have to send a contract or two the other way to make it work. Maybe Philly doesn't make sense. Okay, I'll leave that one for the comments. You guys let me know what you think about Philadelphia. Who else in the second round? Oh, right, the third round was the second round. Unless you're right. Man, the Flyers are interesting. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, out. Yeah, wow. Out, in, out, in, out, in. Jesus Christ, man. Fucking. All right, anyways. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like the Flyers could use a little bit of help. Maybe that wasn't the answer. Okay, the Los Angeles Kings makes a ton of sense. They have the money. They have the young assets. The question is, what young assets should they want to get rid of? If I'm the Los Angeles Kings, I am holding on tightly to Byfield. And where is he? I'm holding on tightly to Turcotte and Byfield. But you might need one of them to get it done. Because, I mean, those are two centers right there, and they're probably going to want a young center going back to Buffalo. If they're looking at them, they're probably wanting Velarde and one of them, plus potentially a first-round pick this year or next. If you want my honest opinion about the LA Kings, I think as much sense as Eichel would make in terms of we have the assets to do it, I think it would make more sense for the LA Kings to get a little bit more defense. They got Bjornfoot. I mean, they got some good young defensemen, but who's the guy after Drew Doughty? Because after Drew Doughty's a pretty significant dip in terms of how good a player is. I think if I'm the LA Kings, I'm looking to make a trade for someone along the lines of maybe an OEL if Arizona eats salary, or any big defenseman for that matter, because I think the LA Kings kind of need a defenseman. At least they have Cal Peterson to replace Quick, and their forward core of the future looks stacked. And I definitely think having Eichel would be pretty big for the Kings. I just wonder if, I don't know, I suppose having like an Eichel and Byfield or Eichel and Turcotte as your 1-2 in the future is not a bad look at all. So, let's say Turcotte, Velarde, and they're going to want a defensive prospect. But I don't know if they have any defensive prospects they want to trade. Either way, it's going to be looked at as an overpayment. That's interesting. I don't know. Interesting. I definitely think Eichel makes sense for LA. I just wonder what they give up and how they do it. Because, I mean, LA is on the up and up. Their rebuild's coming to an end. They've accrued a ton of assets. And they're probably ready to, move on. Do they want to part ways with a Turcotte or a Byfield? Probably not. For a Jack Eichel? Probably. So I guess it all depends on, what are they thinking in terms of what they want to give up. I think it makes sense, but they got to wonder in their future, do we want homegrown talent, players that came up through us, i.e. Turcotte and Byfield, or do we want to trade one of those guys that bring in a Jack Eichel and accelerate the rebuild? So that's an interesting conversation to have. I definitely think it makes sense for the LA Kings, and I'm surprised they're not pursuing harder. But yeah, definitely makes sense. And look at them last 5 years. Out. First round exit. Out. So, out by a pretty significant margin. So, we'll see. Okay, Anaheim Ducks. 0 cents whatsoever. Why the Anaheim Ducks are even in on Jack Eichel is fucking beyond me. Seeing the Anaheim Ducks in on Jack Eichel makes me angry. The Anaheim Ducks not only are in purgatory, but are awful. Okay? Let's take a look at the Anaheim Ducks this year. Okay? All right, here we go. 2021 NHL. Okay, so the Anaheim Ducks finished dead last in their division. They missed the playoffs by 20 points. Yep. They finished second to last in the entire NHL. So their catharsis is not, hey, let's bite the bullet and continue the rebuild because we're nowhere near competing. It's, hey, let's take the best player from the team that was just below us and cross our fingers while giving up the top young assets we've accrued over the past 2 years. If the Anaheim Ducks want to do it and shoot themselves in the foot, the more power to them. Do I think they should do it? Absolutely not. It makes zero sense. And then when Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale's name come up, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Excuse my language. What is going on? Like, your captain, Cjethsyt, is probably gone, okay? Not only has he aged himself out, but he played like dog shit last year. It just, to me, if they're trading one of their third overall pick, which in this year, okay, fine. If they're trading Zegras or Drysdale or Comtois, it just fucking why? It takes years to do a rebuild. Why would you stunt your rebuild to put yourself in purgatory? And from Jack Eichel's perspective, he goes, oh, fuck yeah, I got traded from Buffalo. Yeah, I'm no longer on the last place team in the league. I'm on the second to last place team in the league now. Oh, and what's that? The players coming up that were going to be the solution to this team being dead last and they're second to last in the league? Oh, they're gone. They're in Buffalo now. No, it makes zero sense to me. I don't know. When I saw Anaheim's name being brought up, I got a headache. Because if I'm the owner of the Anaheim Ducks, yeah, I want money. But money's going to come from young, exciting players coming up and being the next generation, not trading them for a guy who's got a serious neck injury that might work out. That's going to just keep your team in purgatory. You're not going to compete. If Zegras and Drysdale aren't here, who are you putting them around? Because I promise you this much. You're losing one of these defensemen in the expansion draft. Lindholm, Manson, and Fowler are going to be the three protected. So you're losing Shattenkirk, Fleury, or... Do they even protect Lindholm? Because they're talking about trading Lindholm. I assume they do. He's going to walk in a year anyways. And Raquel, he walks in a year. So what do you have to show for it? Just going to be Jack Eichel and Derek Grant? Is that going to be your 1-2? Like, I'm trying to understand this. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know why. I'm getting frustrated for Anaheim. To me, it makes no sense. Would it be exciting for Anaheim fans? Sure it would be. It's fucking Jack Eichel. It'd be pretty damn exciting. But, like, it makes no goddamn sense. Miss the playoffs. And look at the regression. 64 point percentage. 61. Not a bad drop. 48, 47, 38. I don't know. You do the math. Is one player going to make a difference? Because a 48, a 47, and a 38 win percentage tells me you're rebuilding, buddy. And getting top assets and trading your young players, one player is not going to take you from bottom of the barrel team to top of the league. It's just not. Especially when you're losing players a year later, i.e. Raquel and Lindholm. Not to mention who you lose in the expansion draft. So, I don't know. To me, the Anaheim Ducks make zero freaking sense whatsoever. I'm stumbling over my words. It frustrates me so much. But that's just my opinion. Moving on. I want to do the Rangers last because I'm a Rangers fan. So, Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm sure Jack Eichel heard the Columbus Blue Jackets were interested in him, and he might have hung himself. Okay, the Blue Jackets. Let's talk about the Blue Jackets. Seth Jones is gone. Okay? Either for assets or not, Seth Jones is about to be gone. Okay. So your defense is Zach Werenski, Dan Gavrikov, Scott Harrington, and Dennis Kukin. Verzligas or Korpisalo, one of them's gone. One of them is gone. Okay. Well, what do we have forward-wise? Oh, Laine? Oh, that's right. Laine doesn't want to be here either. Went as far as to say, yeah, I'm not enjoying it here. I don't want to be here. Okay. We got Jack Roslovic. That's cool. We got Yegor Chinakhov. Oh, that's right. You have Yegor Chinakhov. Buffalo's not giving you Jack Eichel. They're like, hey, we'll take Laine, Roslovic, Chinakhov, and a first-round pick. And even that's, like, not even close to Jack Eichel value. So... why? Just why? Why? Like accrue assets and rebuild Columbus. I understand it sucks, but Tortorella is gone. This is the fucking shit plate that you were given. Eat it. Find yourself a players coach that's gonna turn Laine into what Laine should be, a 40-50 goal scorer, and build around that. Please, for the love of God, do not be the Blue Jackets of old that drafted like shit, traded their depreciated shitty first round picks when they had no value, get nothing in return, and then continue to get ripped off and raped by other teams in crappy trades that you made. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? Get it? Got it, good. That is the only opinion I want from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Makes 0 sense. But big player becomes available. Guarantee you everybody's calling. Hate to break it to you, Columbus fans, but Eichel's not going to turn the ship around on you. What he's going to do is, by trading for him, you're going to siphon all your young assets, put yourself in another purgatory, and hope that the next coach you have is going to carry you as much as Tortorella did. That's all I'm saying. The Ottawa Senators makes a pretty good amount of sense in terms of assets. Ottawa has a plethora of assets. They, in fact, have so many assets that they're good young assets, don't even really have that much value anymore, i.e. Formenton and Colin Whites and Bathersons and even Joshua Norris. So, what does a deal look like if they want Jack Eichel? Well, you have to imagine Cjethsyt and Brady Tkachuk are off limits. So, Eric Brandstrom, probably not a big deal. Get Brandstrom. Well, what else? There's not really much else you can give up. JBD maybe. Do you really want to give up your young defenseman already? Tyler Clevin, well, we just drafted him. Oh, Jake Sanderson, well, he was another top pick last year. It's like, something we really want to do? Probably not. I think from a value perspective, yeah, Ottawa can acquire him. Should they? Probably not. They definitely could use a number 1/number 2 center, so they won't do much with Cjethsyt in the future, but what do they give up? Because personally, I don't see any player young or old that they really should be like, hey, this is what we're doing. I don't know. I really want to give up their young guys like this quick? It's a bit of a jump of the gun situation. But then again, if you have the assets to do it, why not? But I'm sure Eichel wouldn't be too thrilled about going to Ottawa. That's just my opinion. Interesting. Ottawa's more likely than a lot of other teams on this list. Right now, I have LA as the most reasonable, and then Ottawa, then Philadelphia. Boston. I'm going to go ahead and say no, because I don't know what Boston even has to trade at this point. They barely have the money to re-sign anybody. I don't know where they're going to find money to bring in Jack Eichel. And what are they going to give up? Because I don't really see any top-notch assets that Buffalo's going to be jumping all over that Boston's going to be like, no. The only top young assets I see them asking for are Charlie McAvoy. Probably be the guy they build a deal around, and Boston probably go after yourself. That's my only defenseman. So I don't know. I don't really think Boston works out. I think it'd be great if they could get him, but probably won't happen. Seattle Kraken. You tell me. I think it would be kind of cool. But more likely than Boston. So right now my tier list is, in terms of making sense for both Eichel and the team, LA all the way to the top, Ottawa, Philadelphia, everybody else. We'll do Seattle right here. We'll put Seattle on the same level as Philly. If we're doing a numbers list in terms of making sense, Eichel to LA is about an 8.8, 8.9. Philadelphia a 6. We'll go Seattle about a 5.9 and Ottawa a 6. We'll keep them close group like that. The New York Rangers, in terms of making sense, I would say is as high as 9.5. Actually, no, I'll put the Rangers and LA neck and neck. I'd actually bump LA up to a 9.3. And I'll put the same thing for the Rangers. And I'll tell you why it makes sense. As good as Mika Zibanejad is, the Rangers are going to need a second-line center or bump Zibanejad down to being a second-line center. Ryan Strome, love him to death, had a great season, and I don't want to see the Rangers part ways with him. I want the Rangers to re-sign Strome long-term because Strome has been playing out of his ass. Strome's numbers when Artemi Panarin was hurt were almost better than when Artemi Panarin was there. And when the Rangers first brought in Ryan Strome, he was on the fourth line and he generated almost a point per game. So I think Artemi Panarin helps, but I don't think he's being carried by him necessarily. But again, it doesn't hurt. I think the Rangers need to be very careful when pursuing Jack Eichel because they have more young assets than they know what to do with, but just because you have a lot of something doesn't mean you should just throw them away. because a lot of these young assets could come back and bite you in the ass pretty damn quick. And the two players I'm being specific about are Filipino and Vitaly Kraftsdoff. I don't think Lafreniere or Kakko go the other way in an Eichel deal. The same way I don't think LA wants to trade or should trade Byfield or Turcotte in an Eichel trade. More specifically, I think Lafreniere and Kakko are less likely to be traded in a deal because they are wingers and not centers. If Kakko and Lafreniere were both centers, I'd be under the impression that one of them gets sent the other way. Because they're not, I don't think it becomes a thing. I think if the Rangers do make a deal for Jack Eichel, I think Strome, Kraftsdoff, and Hedl are the first three names that get mentioned, and amongst other things, which is a bit dangerous. Strome, you replace him with Eichel. That's fine. That's solvable. I prefer they didn't trade Ryan Strome, but Buffalo's going to want a first or second line center, and Strome for the meantime could fill in and probably do a pretty dang good job of it. And he might even re-sign there at a pretty fair value. I really hope the Rangers don't trade Ryan Strome. I'd prefer they move him to the wing because he's not a great faceoff taker, but it is what it is. Filipino shows flashes constantly of being as good as Zibanejad. Big kid, 6'2", 206. He's fucking strong as shit. He doesn't win a whole lot of faceoffs. His hands are unbelievable. He's got a great shot. He has moments of brilliance that really just shakes you. Vitaly Kraftsdoff, at one point, was the highest rated prospect drafted in the NHL. I believe that was 2 years ago now. Obviously, his value might have taken a little bit of a hit by now, but by his showing in the NHL in however many games he played this year, I'm sure the Rangers are pretty weary of giving up a player of Vitaly Kraftsdoff's caliber within the conference. I think they're a little nervous about that, and they should be. The kid's 6'3", almost 200 pounds, controls the puck like no other, wheels and deals, has vision like unbelievable vision, unbelievable shot, unbelievable hockey IQ, just does everything, plays his ass off, back checks harder than anyone else I've seen on this team. So they're wary. I guarantee the Rangers are not like, hey, Kraftsdoff and Hedl, just come on. No, they're not. They're definitely wary. And then from a defensive perspective, Nils Lundqvist won the Borja Salming Award this year. Was 2 years in a row now one of the top defensemen in the SHL. One of the top. Rated by a lot of expert analysts as the number one prospect, or in the top three prospects, drafted, not playing in the NHL. And the Rangers just signed him. I don't think the Rangers are like, hey, let's get rid of Nils Lundqvist. That sounds like a good idea. No. After the Ryan McDonough for Scott Gomez trade, I'm pretty sure the Rangers are the team that's like afraid to give up defense more than any other team in the league. So I don't think the Rangers are necessarily giving away their top pieces to get Jack Eichel. Excuse me. Sorry, you're on. I'm tired. Long day. I think, personally, the Rangers are making a Jack Eichel trade. I think the trade looks something like this. And I hate to say it because I don't want to see it, but it would happen, and it would upset me. It would break my heart because I think this kid is the left-handed Adam Fox. I think you see Zach Jones, Filip Hedl, Vitaly Kraftsdoff, first-round pick, and probably Ryan Strome going the other way, and that is a lot. Let me just do something really quickly. We're going to go interactive. We're going to open up Armchair GM. Quickly just do this. I promise you I'm not a robot. Okay, let's go to Buffalo. Dumbass. Go to the Rangers. Jackass. Rangers, okay. So they go for, where are they? Hedl. Where is Kraftsdoff? Jones. Kraftsdoff. First round pick. And Ryan Strome. That's a lot. God damn it, that's a lot. Okay. Not happy about it, but such is life. Just playing pretend. Pretend this is the trade that happens. Okay? There you go. There you go. Krabby goes here. We got to re-sign Filip Hedl, so we go RFA. Oopsies. Let's just pretend. Let's ballpark. 2 for 2. Boom. Good. Hedl. Bam. I didn't even do that. You got Olofsson. God, Skinner is trash. How he's even in the league is beyond me. So we got Tage Thompson, Okposo, Kraftsdoff, Strome, Olofsson. You got Jonesy now, so there's your defense. Gergenson's probably going to be healthy by this point. I'll throw him over there. Sign UFAs, team. Buffalo, probably not. You got it. Let's pretend they re-sign McCabe. Let's just pretend they re-sign McCabe. Hallmark. I'm spitballing. I'm spitballing their value. I'm no expert on Buffaloology, so just bear with me here. Asplund. Don't worry about the years. I'm just doing money. Don't worry about, like I said, don't worry about the years. Don't get hung up on that. Arjun on Borgen. Okay, let's just say this is what they got, right? So there's your defense. Yuka Harju. Bryson, Scratch, Risto. They probably end up trading Risto Lions too. So let's just, boom, we got that. Boom, boom. Okay, that's a pretty good plethora of assets. Okay, so let's see what was assessed here. You got a young second line center that could be re-signed, a 27-year-old Ryan Strome. You got a 21-year-old Philip Hedl. You have a 21-year-old Vitaly Kraftsdoff, both former first-round picks, and, in my opinion, left-handed Adam Fox, that I really do not want the Rangers to trade, but I'm afraid they're going to, and Zachary Jones. So the Sabres' top three defensemen right here, Yuka Harju, Jones, and Dahlin of the future, pretty damn set. Not to mention, they're probably going to get Owen Power first overall in this draft. So their defense of the future, set. In net, you got Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He'll be up there eventually. In the minors, I'm not sure what forwards they have going up. Yeah, you got first-round pick right here. Jack Quinn will probably be in the league. If anything, I think that would be a pretty good move for Buffalo. I mean, you're getting a future first-line right winger, possibly a first or second-line center, definitely a second-line center, and a top-four defenseman. To me, Rangers make the most sense. Even if I just traded away a lot of young Rangers assets that I really do not want to see go the other way, but you got to give to get in this world, so I don't know. You guys tell me. You guys comment below your thoughts. I want to hear, wow, my hair is really just fucking out of whack today. I want to hear you guys' thoughts about absolutely everything and anything. Comment on anything I said during this video. I want your feedback. Please don't be nitpicky, though. Let's talk. What do you think about my assessment of the teams? Who uses them the most? Who was I right about? Who was I wrong about? What does the value look like? And what are you guys' thoughts? You guys comment down below. I'm going to go eat dinner. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I'll see you next one. Peace.